Right then, something a little bit different today. I didn't actually plan on doing it today, but it looks like the vehicle we're going to be working on is coming tomorrow. So basically what we've got in front of us are tuning boxes. Not something that we normally work with. We've had a few cars come with them on. Not these specific brands as such. These were just chosen at random, just because these came up on Google first when we typed in tuning box. We ordered them under our names, didn't do anything dodgy, didn't try and hide them. Could have ordered them somebody else's name and not told them that we're doing any testing, but at least DT UK are aware what we're going to be doing with these, and they have said if we're not happy with what it's done, they want to offer some support. So, like we said, we don't normally do much with these because the claims that pretty much all of these make are not, they're sometimes above what a remap will do, which in my opinion, if you had control over everything and were messing about, unless you literally put a piggyback ECU on there, like ABT do that on some of their cars. We had one of their transporter vans in recently. I can't remember what figures that actually did. It meant to have been doing something absolutely stupid, but it did nowhere near that. So these tuning boxes are not the cheap ones that you can get for 50 quid off eBay, and they're just a resistor that goes either on your fuel temp in the case of like PDs, or the fuel pressure in the common rail engines. So these ones are the more sophisticated ones. I've literally not opened any of these boxes. The only one that's not sealed is this one, because it came in a plain box, in a plain bag, sorry, or a jiffy bag I think it was, and the guys in dispatch didn't realise what it was. So literally I've not opened any of these, so I might open it and loads of snakes come out of some of them. I don't know, there might be a joke in them, I don't know. So we've got the tdi-tuning one, which is in this one. That was 410 quid with Bluetooth connectivity including that. The DT UK one, including the app control, which is Bluetooth, that was 460. That's a dual channel, and that does the fuel and the boost apparently. And the one in this box is a race chip one, that was 450. So they're all over 400 quid. So we've unboxed all the tuning boxes, gone through all the costs, so now it's on to the testing. So the original plan, I said earlier, it was a bit back when we filmed that as well, so apologies if there's a little bit less continuity than we'd hope. We discussed the costs, how many connections each one's got, and the price, everything to do with them, and what we think about them already. So what we decided to do was an accurate test, hence the lab course. Read into that what you will. So we've got Matt's car. It's a standard 150 horsepower A4. Can't see kids about in it. It's done 54,400 miles now. DPF's all in there, EGR, everything. It's just totally original. He drives it to work and back. So this was a good one to test it on. It's quite a common car we get asked to tune. That's why we thought it'd be a good one to do. So we'll look at what we've done, rather than showing you videos of it running up on the dyno and videos of installing tuning boxes. It's not important at this stage. They're all fairly easy on this car to fit. The only cars it will be a struggle on is one with a map sensor at the front, right down the front, like on the Octavias and stuff, Golfs. That's the only one that's hard to get to. Everything else fairly straightforward. So we'll look at the dyno graphs first. So this is what it's pulled standard. So it's 150 horsepower car, it's done 147, 255 foot-pound of torque, whatever it works out at. So then the first tuning box we tested was the DT UK one. So not what we wanted. So the reason why there's been a bit of a gap between the actual tests and the final bit of testing that we've done here today, because I thought it's only fair to everybody to contact them and say, these are the results we got. We were going to film it all live and just talk about it, but we thought that's not really ideal. We always like an opportunity to rectify a mistake or a problem, so we did the same for them. So DTUK, initially very responsive, wanted us to reprogram it and do what we can. At what cost, I don't know. I know we're going to be paying for it, 'cause if we're not going to be getting anything from it, then we didn't want to mess about like that. And obviously this is not a replacement for tuning, so when you have to tune a tuning box, a bit annoying really. So we sent it back to them for them to reprogram it, and they just refunded us money and said, do what you want to do. Then when I said, well, I'm going to have to mention that you did that in the video, so well, we're still willing to work with you, but I'm like, well, that ship's sailed now. So we're not interested in dealing with them anymore. The guys who work there seemed fine. They were willing to try and help later on, but we ain't got time to mess about like this if we were trying to test a product with the intention of it being a product that we sold. So anyway, that didn't work. We lost a bit of power. Can only assume because it's trying to add fuel and then the lambda sensor's trying to pull it back. I don't know. But this was the most complicated of the tuning boxes, so it got more connection. So in theory, we would have expected better control over everything, the boost, rail pressure, and it got cam position in there, which I'm assuming is for the type. Well, so it knows when to ramp the rail pressure up. So very strange. We don't actually quite know why it did what it did. We tried it on every setting. It made absolutely no difference. So that's the DTUK one. So I'll leave it up. If it starts getting a little bit messy, I might hide some of these graphs. So then the next one that we tested was the TDI tuning one. So that's more like what we're wanting to see. 169 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds, but basically it's lifting all the graphs up and away you go. So this is way short of the figures that they were claiming, which, just give me 1 second, there's no point looking at this because you're not going to see how. So yeah, they were claiming 198 on this. DTUK are claiming 200. So race chip are claiming a little bit less, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So it's still falling way short of what they're claiming. Their claims were above what we'd set for a remap, so we didn't expect it. We weren't expecting that. We weren't expecting to get them sort of figures anyway, so it's not a big deal. But in my opinion, this has achieved what we wanted to achieve from our point of view. So obviously sent the same message to tdi-tuning, just said it's not doing 298 that you claimed, blah blah blah. They said, well, we tested this exact tuning box on this exact car quite a number of years ago when these were brand new, and some fleet guy wanted a few of them tuning, mainly for economy, and they did better numbers than that on a dyno that we know of that should be kicking out decent numbers. Well, it's not going to fit in with what we're doing now to change the tuning and do what we're doing, but maybe in the future we can work together and do something. So like I said, it's not going to replace a remap on this case, so the next one, and this one does the boost and the fueling, so this one, the next one then is the race chip one. So the race chip did do the same peak power, 169, pretty much the same curve, except where you get this lump at 3500 on the TDI tuning, you don't get that, so you're a little bit less mid-range, but you get a similar lump at 3900. So why it's in a different place, I'm not quite sure. Obviously it's going to be something to do with their programming and how it increases the rail pressure. So in theory, when you're driving these two on the road, the race chip and the TDI tuning one, I doubt you'd notice the difference. It's only a small amount of power for a small period in the rev range. Pretty much where you'd use most of it, so obviously the TDI tuning one is the better one. So the same email went out to race chip. We said in Germany this is what we found. You're claiming 189 horsepower, and it's only making 169. Any reasons why you think? Anything to report? And they basically just fobbed us off and just said it's, I can't remember exactly how they termed it, serial condition of engine, which, just can you clarify what you mean? They just said basically serial condition of engine, repeating themselves, which they're saying that this engine, being 50 odd thousand mile old, is why it's lost 20 horsepower. Load of rubbish. Absolute load of rubbish. At that point, these tuning boxes should be going back. At least that tuning box should be going back and just say, stick it where it's sun don't shine, because it's not good. There's no way that the only reason why an engine has lost 20 horsepower in 50,000 miles is just because there'd be a fault, there'd be an issue somewhere, we'd have seen it before we'd even started, and this test had never happened. So, a load of rubbish. And this being the most simple one, only doing the rail pressure, it's not worth the money. I think it was the most expensive, it's got the least number of connections, it's no good. So I've seen a few people as well, since doing this I've not provoked it, I've not asked, there's been a few people slating these on some forums that we frequent as well, the race chip ones. Whether they've done, the people have had back-to-back testing like we've done with the other ones and they say the same, I'm not too sure. But obviously if they had the same results with the DTUK or the race chip as we've got, then, and they have to support as such from race chip at least, then they definitely won't be happy. But as far as putting it in the car and never dynoing it and noticing a difference, with both of these tuning boxes, 100% you're going to feel a difference. Whether you believe that you've got the 198 horsepower or the 189 horsepower that these guys claim, well, we've had people claiming even bolder things with custom remaps and coming here and going on our dyno and being severely disappointed, and even accusations that we're trying to pull the wool over the eyes just to make money. We'd never do that. I'd sooner somebody go away knowing exactly what they've got and not buying anything from us and being happy, rather than the other way around and thinking that we're trying to sell them something. So when speaking to Race Chip, obviously this one, only having one connection, is very easy to replicate what it's doing by doing a remap. So simply what you need to do is increase the rail pressure everywhere, because that's all this is going to be doing. Obviously it's going to have a little bit of software in there trying to look at things and see what it can do, but for something that at part throttle, low loads and then full throttle is not going to cause you any issues, it can only be very simple that it's giving pretty much a fixed amount to a certain degree, and then maybe it varies slightly, but it can't vary too much because it can't see anything other than the rail pressure. So we did a little test, this being an 1800 bar system, which then has got a 2000 bar sensor, so we can safely add about 150 bar rail pressure. So that is that one. So for safety we set 150 bar as about where we want to add. Across the board we don't want to add any more than that. Obviously you can add a bit earlier and get a little bit more, but the general rule, 150 bar, especially when you get to the top end where it's maxing the sensor, or getting close to maxing the sensor. Sorry about the beeping as well, that's the interceptor in our yard that's telling us that it's not full. I don't know what it does when it's full of engine oil, but anyway. So yeah, we've increased the rail pressure by 150 bar, we've got 155 horsepower, so not a massive increase. So one of my questions to Race Chip, how much are you actually increasing the rail pressure? If doing that alone, you can see such a bump in torque and such a bump in power. They said 150 bar. We'd already done this test. I know it's not 150 bar. That's a load of rubbish. So, because what we've got on here is a comparison of the duration, so how much the injector's open. So we've got our 1950 test, the race chip tuning box, and standard. So we've actually, doing our test, we could have spent ages playing about it, we've lowered the duration of such an increase of rail pressure. That's why we've not seen such a big increase in torque, but we'd still not be quite up there with the race chip and the TDI-tuning box. But bear in mind, this is where it's starting to get complicated, because we're referencing back and forth. The TDI-tuning box is manipulating the boost as well as the rail pressure, so this comparison is only to the race chip. So what we decided to do then, obviously knowing that 150 bar alone is not enough to get the figures that race chip are getting, and knowing that we can't log the actual rail pressure while this is in there, because the sensor's only 2000 bar and we're expected to be more than that, and obviously this is interfering with what the VAGCOM will tell us. We stuck the picoscope on the rail pressure sensor, and the peak at which they're running, which is around where these lumps are on both tuning boxes, that's where the peak rail pressure is on these engines. Around that area, standard it's 1800 bar, with our tune on there it's 1950. They're running, race chip are running around 2040 bar, so the maximum the sensor can read pretty much. Whether we're running a little bit above that, we can't say for certain, but it's definitely above where we normally run these injectors. And in the mid-range, they must be adding a lot more, so it's coming up, dropping off, and then at the top end where it's dropping off, they're adding more as well. So it's running a lot more rail pressure than we want to run. If we had the time and the inclination, we could mess about starting to put different rail sensors in and tweaking it, but we don't want to be accused of an unfair test. The only way to do it really would be add an extra external sensor, but we didn't really think that was going to be part of this test when we started. So whether doing that is going to cause you any problems, in my opinion, entirely depends on what injectors are in the car. These injectors are pretty strong. They're very similar to what we run in the Arosa. We know they'll take the pressure, so it's not a big deal. But when you're looking at running these sort of tuning boxes on, say like the older 335Ds and stuff like that, that the injectors fail as standard, you add another 300-400 bar of rail pressure to them, they're going to fail a lot sooner. So that gets us onto what type of people are going to run these tuning boxes. It's going to generally be the people that've got the cars on lease, finance, or they're not wanting to invalidate any warranties. But if you take your car to the dealer and all 4 injectors are goosed, and it looks like you've unplugged and plugged rail pressure sensors in, and some strange faults might be on the engine at that point that can't be explained, you're still going to have a difficult discussion if you ask me. So potentially trying to save a problem, which is a warranty issue, by putting something as simple as this one that only does rail pressure, could potentially cause you bigger issues. So that really negates the benefit of running this, because they're no cheaper than a remap. That's the thing. If they're half price of a remap, then it's a no-brainer. You just put it on, use it until your warranty's finished, and then away you go. But we get a lot of people that don't really care about the engine warranty because they don't want to live with a brand new car that's standard power for 3 years or 2 years. They just want a remap. So what we thought the best test that we could do then would be actually do a proper tune on this. So where are we? That's what a custom tune gets you. So we could probably add a little bit more torque if we wanted to, but we didn't go too crazy. But if you look at the power figures, 190, that's a good 20 more than the best tuning box, and it's obviously at higher RPM. So this is where custom tuning and tuning boxes have got the differences and similarities, that a remap, generally most of your gains are going to be after 3000 RPM. If all you do is drive it up to 3000 RPM, then something like this, and you don't always go full throttle, something like this is not going to really be a downside to you. But in our opinion, for the money that you're getting and paying, you get a lot more value for money with a custom remap. Starting out this, doing this tuning and this testing led us down another path to create the products that our customers are going to want. So the next video is going to be quite interesting. It's going to be the next stage in how DARKSIDE's sort of push forward as a business, and that's come from a necessity born from doing this testing and what customers are asking for. So if this is not summarised enough, let us know in comments and we can try to go over it again in a bit more detail at the start of the next video, because that will be going on to the next step that's replacing this. But briefly, if you don't care about your warranty at all, or your car's not in warranty, get a remap. Just forget about these, they've got no place on your car whatsoever. But the next video will fill that gap in between, hopefully. So if you're liking what we're doing, like it, share, subscribe. Thank you.